Hi, this is Jim from the Math Department, and I'm part of the Online Learning 2.0 work group this summer. And we're going to walk you through how to do the initial setup for your Schoology course using our new template that reflects the cadence that we're trying to capture with that template. So I'm going to break this into a series of steps, and hopefully you can either follow along with me or use this as a resource. It's going to be accompanying a set of written directions that should follow exactly what's in this video. In the written directions, I've also included my email, and I've even included my phone number in the written directions if you need to text or call me, because I know we're all trying to do this remotely, and having a little bit of extra help can be useful. So the first step is going to have you joining a group that we created in Schoology, which is where we're housing the Schoology template. So in order to be able to transfer stuff easily into your courses, you're going to need to first grab that group. So I'm going to change my screen here so you can see mine and see how you would actually access that group. Okay, so I've opened my browser here. I'm going to log into Schoology. I'm in here as me. And what I want you to do is up top here you have three tabs, the groups, courses, groups, and resources tab. I would like you to go to the groups tab at the top of the page. And what we're going to do, I already have the group here in mine, but I'm going to show you how you would get this group in yours. So we're going to click on over here, this My Groups at the top of the right hand side. And then you're going to go ahead and type Join Group. And we have an access code for this group. So it's going to say GWF-X96ZV. And then you're going to hit this join button, and that should add that group to your Schoology page. Now it tells me I cannot enroll a group that I'm already a member of. You are going to be joining this for the first time. But if you hit the groups tab now, you should see this Garrison Forest School You Can, You Will, GFS Upper School template, and you now have that as a group. So you've completed step one in the process of joining the template group. Okay, so we're going to start the second step of the initial course setup here. So this is going to take a little bit longer than it would just for week-to-week maintenance. But once we have your initial course set up, as we're going through the school year, week to week, it should be a little bit easier to make things go. So if you'll bear with this is a little bit of a complicated idea at this point, but we've tried to do as much as we can on the back end to make this work for you kind of quickly, so you don't have to do a lot of the nuts and bolts setup for yourself. So I'm going to go back to my browser so you can see how to do this. Okay, so you're going to see that I'm back in Schoology, and you're going to hit your courses tab up here at the top. And right now, the rollover has not yet occurred, so your courses may not be populated until later this summer. Don't panic if your new courses are not there yet. Then you can just take a break and return to this video in this step once you're notified that the courses have been populated in Schoology. We're trying to get this out ahead to you so that when those courses are populated, you're ready to go. I'm going to work inside of this test course here that we created as a sandbox for us to work in, just to give you a set of directions on how to work. So if your 2021 courses are in Schoology, then all you want to do is you want to click one of those courses. So you're going to go courses and then click one of those courses, and you should have a nice brand new open course here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click Add Materials from the drop-down button. And we want to go down here all the way at the bottom. It says Import from Resources. And when you click that, you're going to get this box on your screen. On the left-hand side, there's a personal, group, and apps. We're going to go to the group resource. This is the group that we just joined in step 1. Takes a minute for Schoology to recognize this. The group you joined was Garrison Forest Upper School Schoology template. So we're going to go to that group. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to this first folder of resources here. We're going to open that. And then we're going to click all 3 of these. So the only time that you're going to click all 3 of these is in this initial setup. So you want the course information, the assignment sheet, and the one that's labeled month, day, day, month, day, day. You're going to grab the import button down here. You're going to click that import button again, because it's kind of like a confirmation of I want everything. And now all of a sudden there is 3 items have been transferred into your course. The first thing we need you to do is to go to the course information item and grab the sprocket on the end, and we're going to edit this. Now you're going to see that there's a layout for your course information here, and when you're ready you can come in and edit this to be you and about your course rather than the generic one that's in here. You can see that there's the title of the course, when does it meet in person, a brief description. We'd like to have your picture here, just like I'm down here in the lower right hand corner of the recording. There's we learned from one schoolhouse that the more that they're seeing pictures and images of their teachers, the more connected they feel, especially when they're in the remote environment. Your contact, email, your free periods. If you're doing Google Meets that are like drop-ins, you know, when are they and what is the name of your Google Meet would be something to include in there. Now I want you to note this little box right here. So it says options, right? Get rid of that thing in the bottom there. There we go, options. And it has individual assigned, published to students. It's this one that says display on new page. You're going to click that. It's going to put a little box around that. Here's what that's doing. If you save the changes to that, you're now going to notice on your front page that course information is going to remain open. And that's so that it's a little bit more attractive, and when your student comes in, they get the immediate information about your course open on the front page. So that's opening that up. Again, the specifics of this, you can go in whenever you feel ready to. Open that sprocket, hit edit, and go in there and edit that for yourself. But always remember that this display inline should be clicked so that it remains open on the main page. All right, so near the bottom, you're going to see this MMDD. Okay, we also want to edit that right away. Okay, so this is the first week of courses, which in Garrison Forest is going to be 9-1 to 9-4, and we're going to save that. So remember, our template for Garrison Forest this year is going to be based on a weeks and day model rather than a thematic model. So you want to have that at 9-1 to 9-4, and each week that we continue, we're going to add a new folder in here with, it's going to be organized by date. Okay, so once you put that there, you save changes, and right now, congratulations, you have the front page set up. Now, we'll get into how to deal with the assignment sheet a little bit later on. That's a little bit more complicated, but for right now, that's where you need to be, and then we're going to kind of move into our next step of the process here. Okay, so we're going to look at the third portion of this task, which is going to be setting up your weekly folders, or setting up within the weekly folders. And this is a little bit more complicated because things are going to become course and teacher specific. So we want to talk a little bit about what options are available to you and how to utilize those options. All right, so I'm going to drill down into this weekly folder. Okay, so you're going to notice here that there's some subfolders. The first thing you have is this yellow week resources folder. That's designed so that if there are certain resources that you want available to your students throughout the entirety of this week, you can throw those in there and they know to look in that folder to find them. Now, we've given 4 weekday folders, okay? So in a given week of instruction, you at most will have 4 class meetings. This means that you're not probably going to use all of these every week. Some weeks you will use all 4 folders, some weeks you will use fewer. So let's say in the first week of classes, I'm only going to see my class 3 times. So if that's the case, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look and I'm going to delete one of those folders. Okay, so now in my course, I only have the number of folders matching the number of days that I'm going to have in that course week. Now, the next thing we need to do is say, okay, so what days of the week is that course going to meet? So let's say my course begins on the 1st of September. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to edit that tag. And where it says weekday, I believe the 1st of September is a Tuesday. So we're going to make that Tuesday. And we're going to make that September 1st. Now, I use Roman numerals with my units, so I would say that this is Unit 1, and I would be teaching Lesson 1 as part of that. Now, note, this is the critical part. The Tuesday 9-1 is the critical part that you have to have there because our template is based on days and weeks. Okay, so they should know if I'm in class on 9-1, the materials for that day are in this folder. This part, the unit and lesson, as far as the unit number and lesson number, that's how you're organizing your work thematically. And that can be however you do that organizing. So the standard part, the day and date should be the same for each class. The unit and lesson is much more up to your discretion here. Okay, so I've properly labeled that folder. Now, if I go into this folder, you're going to see, okay, there's another yellow folder here where you could stick resources that may be only applicable to that day. And then you see all these placeholders. Okay, so not every day of your instruction is going to use each and every one of these placeholders. You may have various pieces that you're using on various days. Now, the one that is a little different from the others is this formative assessment placeholder down here. That one we're going to talk about in a minute is a little bit unique to the other ones. So let's say on this day, it is my intention to just do some direct instruction and get them a little bit of practice. And that's going to be the whole of everything. So I'm not actually using this optional placeholder at the bottom, this last one, the extension one. So I'm actually going to delete that and take that out. Okay, so I may have like a gathering activity here, which I'm going to either replace this with something and label it as gathering, or it may be like a way to introduce my students to each other. This may be where I put my notes for my direct instruction. I may replace this practice with the practice problems I'm going to use during class, a brief statement of what we learned during class today, and then this one is kind of critical. Each day, there should be something in this placeholder, and it should be labeled as formative assessment. The idea here is that this is the task or tasks that students must complete in order to view this as having completed that day of instruction. So if there's something that you're assuming that a student has done in order to say, hey, I've done everything you've asked for me today, whether it's in class, whether it's online, synchronous or asynchronous, make sure that that gets put in this place. This is the place that's going to be most closely aligned with your assignment sheet. So some notes about this is that we deliberately oversized this. There are more placeholders there than you are likely to use. We tried to come up with the pieces that would most broadly fit most people's instructional strategies, but we don't want to take away from your ability to make instructional decisions. So we try to build something that was oversized and then you can pull back from. So you should feel like comfortable deleting things except for that formative assessment piece and making this fit the day of your instruction. If you have questions about that, please reach out, let me know, and we'll see where we can go from there. I'm aware that this is probably the most confusing part of this video and of the instructions because we can't step by step for you, because this is where you're going to have some flexibility to make this work for yourself and for your course design. So again, if you have questions, reach out and we'll see what we can do to answer them. So let's get into the fourth part of this, which is actually this assignment sheet. Okay, so as an online learning 2.0 group, one of the things that we did land on making a decision about is creating a universal assignment sheet, so that when students are orienting toward your page, they're seeing a consistency from teacher to teacher and from course to course. So they're looking at a similar assignment sheet regardless of whose course that they're in. So we've done some work and tried to put up something that would be most feasible to everyone. And I'm going to look at how you can grab that assignment sheet from our template group and get that set up in your course, and how to make a template that works specifically for your course. I know that this sounds like a lot right now, but I'm going to walk through this step by step. Okay, so we're going to make a template for one of your classes for the assignment sheet. So the first thing we need to do is go actually to groups. So these courses, groups, resources, we're going to go to groups, and we're going to go to the US template, the upper school template group. And this time we're actually going to go directly into the resources. So if you look on the left hand side, you have updates, discussion, albums, members. We're going to go to resources. And there's two sets of resources here. We just pulled down the template from here. We're going to use this assignment sheet template here. We're actually going to go into that folder. Okay, and then we're going to actually open the assignment sheet template. So this document you should not be able to edit. I think I can, but I don't think you can. And it's just there for you to make a copy of and to bring down to your own drive. So let's take a look at how do you make a copy of this. I'm going to go to File, Make a Copy. Now, I am going to build this specifically for my AP Calculus group. So I'm going to say that this is my AP Calc BC assignment. I can spell ASSIGN-MENT. No, IGN-MENT. There we go. Sheet template. And where I'm going to put this is in one of my folders that I called Sandbox. You can put this anywhere you want on your Google Drive. You're going to want to do this for each of the different courses that you have. It doesn't have to be for each section, but you would like to have it for each of your courses, and you'll see why that works in a moment. So I'm going to throw that onto my drive, and I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see that's going to make a copy of that. And my best practice right now is probably to take the original and close it, so I'm not editing in there, but I'm editing in my copy. All right, so the first thing I want to do is say that this is the assignment sheet for AP Calculus BC. So you can put your course in there, and you can either put the unit you want to leave wide open for right now because we're just building a template for your course. All right, so let's say we had a miracle and we now have 3 sections of BC Calculus, and it's in blocks B, C, and F. Okay, so the main template has blocks A through G. We did that because it's easier to delete blocks than to add them. So what you want to do is you want to go into the blocks that you don't have, and you can right click on that block, go down to delete row, and just get rid of that row. So mine were B, C, and F. So I'm going to get rid of D, and I'm going to get rid of E, and I'm going to get rid of G. Okay, so right now I have a template that can be used week after week after week, and it allows me to have my assignment sheet, and I'm good to go. So that's like step 4. Just bring down the assignment sheet, save it to your drive, create a basic template for yourself for each of your courses. And if you have multiple sections of the same course, you could just leave those blocks all in there. And then we're going to show you how to populate that for a particular week in our next step here. Okay, so now you've made a basic template for your assignment sheet, and we're going to show you how to use that template to put a particular week's assignment sheet into Schoology. This is like step 5 in our process here. Okay, so to do this, we're going to open that template that I just created, right? And I'm going to make a copy again. Okay, so now I'm going to make a copy of the template I just created because I want the assignment sheet for the first week of school. So this I'm going to say is like my AP Calculus BC assignment sheet 491-294, and I'm putting that in my sandbox folder. You can put it wherever it makes sense for you. And again, best practice is to close the template and work on the specific document. All right, so in BC Calc, the first unit is on limits and continuity. So that's the title of that unit. This is the assignment sheet for 9.1 through 9.4. Okay, so you're going to see a whole bunch on here. And so once I've done all the renaming up here, there's a lot of directions that are being given here. This says yellow blocks mean live classes. The default is due for next class period. Red text is a summative or assessment or activity. Bold means that due dates are not the next class period. Okay, so let's think about what could be happening here. The first thing, these are the conventions that we want to do. We want to update the unit name, or you could use a unit number here. You want to update the date. For the default for assignments, okay, so let's say my assignment was due page 112, numbers 2 through 14 odd. The default for that assignment is that it's due the next class period. Okay, so if I put that on, well, there's not going to be a Monday that week, but if I put that on Tuesday, there we go. I have that in there, and it's going to default. The idea here is that is defaulting for the Wednesday class. Now, let's say on Wednesday, I'm going to say do complete the limits project, and I want that to be due on 9/9. Well, because that is not the next day, I want to bold that particular task. So the default is that tasks that are due the next day are just left as they are. If they're not due the next day, oops, having a little trouble with navigating there. If they're not due the next day, I should bold it. Okay. Let's say this happens to be the day that I am saying to prepare for unit assessment, which would not be this early in the game. If I was doing that, my unit assessment is a summative assessment, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say and make that red. Okay, so this is kind of like the notation that we're using. If it's a typical assignment that's due by the next class period, you leave it as it is. If it has an extended due date, you make sure that it's bolded. If the text is a summative assessment or activity, you should put it in red. Now, the other thing that we're asking you to do is to make an estimate of time. So I'm assuming that this would take 25 minutes, that this may all total take 90 minutes, and your preparation here should be 30 minutes. So after each one of them, I'm putting a parentheses with the time amount. Now, I may do that for the remainder of my classes and filling in the block so that regardless of which section of BC Calculus, they can all look at the same assignment sheet. Now, classes are not meeting on that Monday, so I'm going to get rid of these ones. So that would tell me that that day there is no class meeting, and perhaps the class is not meeting on that Thursday as well. Now, the last thing, so if you take away the ones in the block and you see an empty block, that should be indicating to your students that there is no class meeting that day. So blank box means no meeting. If you're not giving an assignment and there is a meeting, you should actually put in the box something to the effect of no assignment. That way that they know that there's still class, but there is no assignment given that day. If we're in remote learning, there's going to be some days that are going to be synchronous and some days that are not. So maybe 2 out of the 3 class meetings this week are going to be synchronous. What we ask you to do is to use there's a little paint bucket tool up here. So you hit this 3 dots here and it should give you this paint bucket tool. And we're going to grab this little background color here. We want you to make the background of days where there are synchronous learning yellow. So if I'm reading the B block here, I'm reading it that there is no instruction on Monday, no instruction on Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday are synchronous classes. Friday is an asynchronous class. The assignment given on Tuesday is to do page 112. It's due the next day. The assignment given on Wednesday is to complete the limits project due on 9/9. It's due down the road, so I'm bolding that. And prepare for a unit assessment is involving a summative assessment or activity. So I have painted that red, and I've misspelled assignment here again. There we go, we fixed that. So looking ahead is something where you may want to detail things. There is a unit assessment next week. Please prepare. And this is where you can make notes about things that are outside this given week of time. So the idea is to have something that is easily visible and understood, consistent from class to class, and at the same time visually appealing to the student. So now once I have this, what do I do? Right? So I'm going to now share this. And when I hit the share button, I get this window that comes up, and one of the options here is to change link to Garrison Forest School. So I want to click that so that anybody inside the GFS framework can actually see this. And over here it says copy link. So I'm going to hit that copy link button. And now I'm going to go to my Schoology course. Okay, so I'm in Schoology. I want to go to my course. And this is where I'm actually going to put that assignment sheet in here. So I'm going to go here, hit the little sprocket, and I'm going to go edit. And there's a link in here. It's just a placeholder. I want to delete that. I've deleted that. Oh, sorry, I didn't manage to get it all. I'm going to delete that. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to paste that link that I just copied in there. And when I hit save changes, now when my students come to my course, they click that assignment sheet and they can see my assignment sheet come up in their window. And they can look at it and easily kind of understand what's going on here. If I edit it on the back end, it will edit inside this window. All right, so at this point, you have been through all 5 steps of the initial setup of your course. I know it's a little more complicated than we'd hope, but at the end of the day, I hope that some of the work that we did on the back end helps you, and it gets us to a place where our students are able to navigate freely from course to course and see consistency from teacher to teacher. Again, my email and my phone number are on the initial setup Google Doc. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'd be glad to help because I know we're all doing this remotely and we need to support each other as much as we can. But we wanted to get this to you ahead of the rollover and so that we're all ready to go when it's time to start courses. So, all right, a little bit longer than I would have wanted the video to be, but I hope it's helpful. So I look forward to seeing you soon back on campus, and thank you.